Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the Witching Hour podcast. I am your host, as always, and I apologize for that. I am John Roycelyn. With me tonight, new friend I am so glad to be talking to. I am completely honored to have this gentleman sitting across from me to chat. Um, Known to the world as Uncle Creepy. To those that call him friends, this is Mr. Steve Barton. Steve, welcome to the Witching Hour podcast.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate it. The honor is mine, man. Anytime anybody wants to talk with me about anything, I always consider it a privilege. So, really, the privilege is mine. I'm glad that you care enough to want to talk about some of the stuff I've done or some of the stuff I have coming out.
Well, you are considered amongst many a legend in the horror community.
Strong word, John. That's a
it,
strong
it
word.
it is a strong word, and it also comes from a strong man. A couple weeks ago, I caught wind of your book, A Comedy of Tragedies, which is your life story, past, present, and hopefully looking into the future somewhat.
A little bit.
I want to thank you for sending me an advance copy.
Oh, man.
As I told you, and folks, anybody who knows me, I really don't read. Growing up, I was a slow reader, and I don't mean that in a I couldn't read kind of a way. It was more along the lines of I had to read it as if it was being narrated to myself. So it went slowly. I would watch fellow classmates in school reading a book, and they're just zip, 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 turn a page, and I'm still halfway through 3 sentences on the first paragraph. I received Steve's page. It opened up in my computer, X amount of pages, and I was like, "Oof, okay, I'm in for a ride." Well, I'll tell you what,
Commitment. It's definitely
it was, and I tell you what, though, I told Steve that he asked how it was going, and I said, "Look, if I'm not reading it, I want to be reading it," and that's the God's honest truth. I could relate to your stories. I'm not saying I went through exactly the same thing. You had a very trying, very trying childhood growing up. Let's just say the least. And here you are today, and you had a lot of trials and tribulations that really could make or break a person, family wise, career wise, relationship wise. Why tell your story?
That's a really good question. First of all, thank you for all the kind things you said about it. I'm humbled to say the least, but you know, growing up the way that I did and dealing with the things that I had to deal with, I kind of I never knew what I was dealing with wasn't normal,
Right.
until like my teens when I would go to a friend's house and I'd see, very much like a Brady Bunch like family as opposed
Sure.
to my dysfunctional fucking family circus. And yeah, there was a lot going on, and there was always a lot going on. I mean, I'm 52 now. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't absolutely exhausted from punching so hard for so long. But being that I had the life that I had, which was both amazing and terrible at the same time, I had a lot of demons in here, and
Right.
they're still in there. And I fight with myself every day to kind of suppress them. But I figured I would do the psychological thing, to just write it and get it out of my system. And I was very much planning to burn the whole thing, just get it out, burn it, and then it's gone.
Right.
And I had written half the book when I was still in California. And I don't know, man, my life blew up again. And I ended up moving back east for some deeply personal reasons, and which are outlined in the book actually.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was sitting here, and my wife Danielle walks in, and she's like, hey, that book you said you were writing? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, can I read it? And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You read with me, you know all of this crap. Why would you want to read it? And, she said she was just curious. And so, a little reluctantly, I sent it to her because this is the most personal thing I've ever done, you know. But she's my wife. If there's anyone who deserves to know what's going on in every nook and cranny of my head, it's her. But
Right.
she bought the package. And a few hours went by, and I realized that I would hear her every now and then, like giggle or sniffle, and I'm like, "Fuck, what did I do?" Right? So she comes downstairs when she's done, and she sat at the table across from me, and she put her hand down, and she said, "You cannot burn this." And I'm like, "Well, why?" And she said that there's a lot of things in here that so many people can and will relate to.
Yes.
Um, she said this book has the potential to help someone. And I never in a million years ever considered that
Sure.
something like that would be actual,
Right.
So, with that in mind, I mean, I've spent my whole life helping people. And I help people because I'm selfish. I just want to do and experience cool shit, man, right? I always kind of throw my heart behind everything that I do.
Right.
And I said, okay. I mean, if it could reach one person and have that effect, because I've been alone my whole life, man. I pretty much never felt like I fit in anywhere. So I had to create things and create entities just to feel like I belonged, you
Right.
know. And then I was unceremoniously ousted out of quite a few of them, which is also in the book. But everything happens for a reason. So I spent the next couple years finishing it. The book is very current. The last thing that I wrote in it, I believe, was in March of this year, 2024.
It was a 4 year stretch. Is that correct? From
Yeah,
start to finish? Right.
4 years. And a lot of the time is because in order for me to really get this out of my system, I had to revisit places that I kept long suppressed.
Right.
Open doors I never wanted to peek into ever again. And I hope I did those moments justice. I don't know. I never considered myself a writer. The only thing I ended up having to do when it was done was just go back to the beginning and just retool like maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs. So it would read like, this is my story and this is what I'm telling you. And this is
Right.
why I'm telling you it. I mean, even in the introduction, I'm like, I don't know what this book is going to be about. And I truly didn't, you know. But whenever I've written about anything, horror movies, video games, whatever, I've always written exactly as I speak.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I wrote that, and it's a huge compliment that I get when people come to me and they're like, this entire time I felt like I was just sitting at a table with you and you just laid it all out. And it's a very conversational book. It's written in a very conversational manner. It's just first person storytelling.
Right.
And I did what I was always going to do. I said, okay, well, if I'm not burning it, I'm going to self publish it because I didn't think anybody would want to hear this story. I don't
I
know
think
why.
you're going to be very much surprised.
I mean, I hope so. But my friend Josh Milliken, who
Sure.
once I left Dread Central, he took over as editor in chief. And he was the only one that ever revered what I had done. And he tried to maintain my sensibilities with the site. And that's probably why he got into whatever he got into and ended up ousted as well. But I'm sorry, Josh. um, he he knew that I had a book, so he's like, "Hey, man, can I check it out?" And I said, "Sure," because at this point, it's pretty obvious I have nothing to hide. And
Right.
I sent him the book, and he was like, "This is abso-fucking-lutely incredible." And I'm like, "Well, thank you, man." He goes, "What are you doing with it?" And I said, "I was just going to self-publish it." And he said, "No, no, no. Wait a minute. Let me send this to my publisher, Encyclopocalypse."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, sure. One less thing I have to do. And they got back to me like instantaneously, and they were very, very complimentary. They wanted to put it out just because I wrote it, which in and of itself is a huge compliment. But I had to be clear with them that this wasn't just Uncle Creepy telling industry stories.
Right.
Because, I mean, what I guess the main draw is for a lot of people. I mean, that stuff is certainly in there, and there's a lot
Oh,
of it,
yeah.
but there's also a lot of me. And I think in order to appreciate where I got to, you had to know where I came from.
Right.
And it's not your average book, man. I mean, and I sound like a douche when I say that, but it's like, I just said to them, you need to read it. Read it first. If you still want it, we'll talk and we'll go from there.
Right.
And they said, okay. So they gave me like 2 weeks later, they called me back and like, okay, now we have to release this. And I was just blown away. And that's how this whole thing started. It's unbelievable sometimes. It's also quite nerve-wracking on a
Sure.
lot of levels because this is it, man. I mean, I talked about stuff that hardly anybody would ever talk about. Deep, really deep-seated familial issues.
Well,
But
has it been therapeutic for you?
in a way,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And but now it's like it's even more frightening, because once this is out there, like
It's out there. Right.
everybody is going to
Yeah.
know every single thing about me.
Right.
And I never had nothing to hide. And I am known for always being honest. And to the fucking letter, everything I wrote in that book, as far fetched as some of it sounds, is what happened. And it can be corroborated by people. It can be corroborated by an innumerable about the people. And that's cool because I never had anything to gain from lying to anybody.
Right.
I don't think, I mean, you could lie to people, but for what?
Right.
Where are you going to go with that?
Who are you covering up, or why are you going to cover it up? Right.
Also, some people lie to take shortcuts. And brother, I've never seen a shortcut that was worth taking that led anywhere good. So I did everything the hard way and the right way. And luckily, I was befriended and mentored by two absolute legends. And they taught me a lot. Sid Haig and George Romero. They taught me not only how to treat people, which is very important,
Mm-hmm.
but how to expect to be treated, to know my worth. And that's hard for me. And they know that's hard for me because I like everyone else, I have imposter syndrome, like a motherfucker.
Right.
It's like no matter what I've done or how far I've taken stuff or what I've achieved, you got to twist my arm to get me to take credit for something.
Right.
And this sounds like kind of fucking bullshit from somebody who just wrote their autobiography. But, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, let me ask, and again, I'm trying not to give any of the story away. I'm exactly 52 years old. I'm the same age as you. So we can appreciate the same era of growing up and the way things have changed and progressed over the years. Now, one thing that I did learn about you through your book is that you don't hold punches back. Okay, you're going to call, if the kettle's black, you're going to call it black. Okay, now with that being said, did you ever write something about someone and think, oof, that's a little bit harsh. I don't want to hurt their feelings if they do read this. The word gets out that I've got a book and I haven't seen or talked to him in 20 years, 10 years, whatever. And they say, shit, man, Steve's got a book out. Let me read that some bitch. And they bring it home and they're like, I can't believe that motherfucker said that about me. I thought we were tight.
You know what? Anyone who's tight with me has nothing to worry about.
Right.
Anyone who has screwed me, I can't say they don't have. I mean, no one's going to care, I don't think, but they'll care
Right.
because I'll call them on their bullshit. But had I have softened some of the blows,
It wouldn't have been your book.
It wouldn't have been truthful to myself, and it
Right.
wouldn't have been truthful to what happened. I don't owe anyone a pass, I really.
Sure.
And there are going to be some, I'm sure there's going to be, I'm sure my brother Rob will be pissed at me for some of the things I talked about. But
I mean, I literally burst out laughing in your book. You brought me to tears with your father's passing. You truly did. I lost my father 3 years ago. He and I were extremely tight, but it reflected me back to his passing. And to find out reasons of why he was doing what he was doing, just it completely crushed me. You first, I've got to tell people this because it's still early on in the story. You had a comparison of your grandmother fighting with the old lady on the stairs, and you gave, was it ECW or something like that?
Elderly Championship Wrestling.
Man, my friend, I literally laptop sitting on my lap on the couch reading, and I about dropped it. I'm laughing my ass off with this, but then moving forward, there's so many things that people can relate to, of hardships in relationships, work wise, personal wise. There's reasons why I hate Florida also. And the spiders and the critters down there are definitely some of them.
Fuck those things, man. They weren't in the brochure. They were nowhere in the brochure. The insects weren't in the brochure. The fucking weird wildlife was not in the brochure. The weird women with sideburns were not in the brochure.
Right.
None of that. It was everybody always on the beach fucking playing volleyball or something.
Right.
Yeah, the Florida brochure is full of shit. But it was and sorry to any women with sideburns, but I mean, I'm not one to talk about physical appearance, but it's fucking weird,
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was trippy, man. One of the biggest compliments I got was from Kyra Shan, who played Karen Cooper in Night of the Living Dead. She was like, you're the only person on this planet that could make me laugh and make me cry all in the same paragraph. And I was like, wow, that's wonderful.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
I didn't mean to make you cry. I think when people hear about all these bad things, they're going to assume that the book is a downer, and it's really not a downer, because even when I'm doing and talking about stuff, the roughest of fucking things, I think there's only two or three instances where I don't use some form of humor. But even all the bad shit is told, with gallows humor, because sometimes things get so ridiculously bad that all you could do is laugh about it and make jokes about it, or else you drive yourself fucking crazy,
Well, of everything that you went through, obviously you were still here to tell the tale. You yourself said in your book, that it's not going to be the end of you. It's not going to drag you down. You're stronger than that. And I saw the pictures. I want to say possibly a small video of you. I'm guessing probably Danielle took it. I'm assuming when the box came home, the unpacking of the box. And that was a very, very emotional moment for you.
Yeah. It's like, holy shit, I'm holding my life in my hands.
Right.
That was a real moment, and it felt real. And in my head, I was like, this is never going to happen again. This first response to seeing this is never going to happen again. So she asked me before I opened, she goes, "Can I take a picture?"
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I didn't know she was videoing it,
Right.
you know.
It was beautiful to see. It showed your heart right there.
Thank
It
you.
it truly did. And with all right, so I asked you a couple minutes ago if it was therapeutic because I understand a lot of times, even if you go to counseling, they say write down your thoughts, your memories, whatever, get it all out, let it all spill out.
Can you imagine my poor therapist? Like, holy shit, dude. I mean, I didn't mean it literally. Uh,
Has this resurfaced any demons, anything that maybe you really hadn't thought about in a long time?
yeah, all of them.
Right.
Every single one of them. And it's also, a lot of people they 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 say they're shocked when they find out that I'm not reading the audiobook version. Like,
Right.
how did you not read the audiobook version? And number one, you know, I lived it, I wrote it. I don't want to fucking read it. I did the heavy lifting, dude.
Right.
Uh, and also, now that I went into detail about stuff in the greatest detail I ever had. And the purpose of it was for me to get every ounce of it, or try to get every ounce of it out of my system. And I think I did that. So for me to have to go back and not only, when I write about that stuff, I'm reliving it. There are parts in the book where I even say, I can't, this is coming up and I can't talk about this right now.
Right.
Come back to it.
Yep.
That's how, and I wasn't writing that for the reader. I was writing that for me, because the first half of the book, like I said, was written just
Yeah.
for me to get it out. So I don't want to go there again. I've been there, man. I see every gruesome detail of it, and I wrote it and I lived it, and I'm not going there again.
Right.
If you want to talk about it with me? No problem. I'll talk about it. But in terms of going through it in that vivid detail, which I did, never going to do that again.
Moving into, oh boy, moving into the professional aspect. Yeah,
I
yeah,
use that word real loose.
professional or lack thereof with
Yes.
some of it. And readers, I definitely hope you take note on a lot of things that were and have been done to our friend Mr. Barton. Moving forward, you still have, maybe not in touch with, obviously, but there are the horror industry, the fan community. It's huge, but it's also very, very small and very tight knit.
Yeah.
You're going to run into people at functions, events. I know you are actually scheduled at certain events and conventions that others from your
Mm-hmm.
past are also going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're a mature professional person. Um, have you had to run into any? Has there been any ruffled feathers? Does everybody just kind of ignore each other?
You know what? And I thought about this a lot, because I'm not going to lie, I'm a very volatile person. Um, Younger me was a very different person, was a very angry person, was a very violent person. And I've struggled with putting that person to bed, but he's always just under the surface. And I love two things so much in this world. I love my family, and I love the horror genre. And the horror genre, I also consider the fans of the horror genre. They didn't do anything to deserve seeing some sort of weird meltdown. So you carry yourself with professionalism, and you make sure that above and beyond anything else, regardless of how you're feeling inside, make sure that people are having a good time, because that's what they're there for. No
Right.
one goes anywhere for drama.
Right.
And I would never taint any experience that a fan is having. And some of the things I write in my book, I worry. I legit, even for, I don't even know why, I still worry that they'll be upset. But
Right.
at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's really going to care to that degree. I think that whatever happened happened, and it's all life, man. Not everything has a pretty bow on it, but there's one thing I've learned, and that's to embrace the bad shit. You have to. You have to embrace the bad shit because it's the decisions you make during those times when you're fucking fucked and you're knocked down and the walls around you seem like 80,000 feet high. And the only thing you could do is stand up, look around, and go, how the fuck do I get myself out of this?
Right.
It's the decisions that you make during those moments that are going to, one, shape your character, and two, dictate who you become.
Right.
So I've been at square one so many times, I've learned to just embrace it. I was there once, I'll be there again. I'm sure I'll be there yet again.
Yeah.
It is what it is. This is life. This is part of the journey, man. Because, when things are good and you're happy, that's easy. You just appreciate those times and you live those times and you love them. But when you're down, that's when you're really living because you're forced to confront a lot of things and make a lot of tough decisions. And each one of them are critical. And I always, no matter what, choose what I believe to be the high road because that's who I am. It's not who I was. And my biggest fear, more than anything, is who I was resurfaces.
Right.
I let that animal come back out of me. And I just don't want that because you know what? If I do that, everyone wins.
Right.
The people who don't deserve to win, they win. So I'm in control of me. I pull my strings, and I don't have an issue with anyone who has an issue with me because whatever, man, it is what it is. You can't take back yesterday. You can't think about like what has happened to you that's murdering you inside because it's just baggage. You can't fucking do anything about it.
Right.
All you could do is say, okay, that happened. Doesn't matter anymore. What matters is now. What matters is 5 minutes from now. And what matters is tomorrow.
Right.
And that's how I live, man. I always try to keep myself walking with grace and humble and appreciative of those around me, yourself included.
Well, I have talked to, as my line of work, what I'm doing here with you, I have talked to two of those individuals in the past, and I don't know them personally other than that, and I would never opt to speak for anyone other than myself. But for what has happened and transpired through the horror community, I am truly sorry that it did. I really mean that. It's the business aspect of it, and it's total bullshit, and no one deserves to be treated that much, to be just totally disregarded for. And I'm sorry, and especially boys and girls fucking surprised.
It's just this simple, man. It really is. At the end of the day, I know what I did. And the
Yes.
people who know me know what I did. And I wouldn't change anything.
And you should be hopefully very proud of what you did and what you've accomplished.
I always am.
Good.
But there's a lot more to do. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
Got the old brick road ahead of you, my friend. All depends on
being that I'm kind of vertically challenged at 5'7", might as well be in one thing.
So December 12th, the book is officially available. You are 10th. I'm sorry. The 10th. Pre-orders are available now.
Yes.
Okay.
If people pre-order it now through the Encyclopocalypse website, they get the book 2 weeks early. They get the book with a free e-copy, and it was originally supposed to be signed for just the first 100 people that pre-order. but I called them and said, listen, if there's 101 or 131, I'm signing every fucking one of them. Because if they cared enough to pre-order it to make sure they had it, I
Right.
cared enough to make sure they get it signed.
And do you know how much the book is retailing for?
I don't fucking know, dude.
I was just curious,
On the
honestly.
website, I honestly, I don't know, 25, $30, I guess. I don't know. I
Okay.
really don't.
I was just curious. That's all. Unfortunately, we are rapidly winding down already with our Zoom time, and I wanted to be able to end this on a good, smooth note because I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you tonight. Future plans after the book is released, though.
I'm going to go to sleep.
Nice.
I'm going to take a nap.
A good long winter nap.
Yeah, just one of them.
Yeah.
I want to, I don't know. I never know what's going to happen. I just kind of have happy accidents.
Right. Well, I know you're going to keep producing some great films. Of
Yeah.
one of which I actually I texted you the other night. I had just gotten done watching Inferno the other night. I had a fun time with that.
Well,
Um,
let's hang on. Let's just pause this here and then
okay,
come and we'll continue.
you got it, folks. We're going to take a quick break. Steve and I'll be right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, boys and girls, welcome back. The Witching Hour podcast. My special guest, if you're an idiot and are just tuning in now, is Uncle Creepy, aka our good friend, Mr. Steve Barton. We are discussing his upcoming release of his book, A Comedy of Tragedies, which is due out on December 10th. We are back with part 2 of our show this evening. So we had left off, we were just starting to talk about some of the films that you are currently in, working with, producing, helping produce. I had watched All Hallows Eve Inferno the other night, which is available now on Tubi. I had fun with it.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a certain, the reason why I'm doing the All Hallows Eve projects is very simple. When I was at Dread Central, one of the things I got to do was I was always able to help the indie filmmaker, get their stuff seen. And if there's anything I miss from that experience, it's being able to help. So when I was approached about doing another All Hallows Eve, I had to think about what it would be. And my vision for it was, well, obviously it has nothing to do with the first one.
Right.
Or the second one, or the third one, which I had a hand in, a smaller hand. But what I wanted to do was, when you're an indie filmmaker and you do a short film, your short film's lifespan is finite. You do your festival run, and then it goes and it lives or it dies on Vimeo or YouTube. And that's a damn shame, because a lot of these movies are good and nobody gets a chance to see them because, well, they don't know about them.
Right.
I mean, there's a whole other audience out there that doesn't go to the film festivals for a lot of different reasons. Could be that there's just none around them, So I figured with All Hallows Eve, if I could take or get in touch with filmmakers that already have their shorts made, their pre-existing shorts, that are just doing nothing, I figured, you know what? Listen, if we could give these movies a second life and get them in front of a whole different set of eyes, that could only be a good thing for them, right?
Right.
So one of the things I wanted to make it very clear with was any filmmaker that submits to me for All Hallows Eve or any of the anthologies I've worked on, they keep their IP. I don't want their IP. I want them to maintain sole control over it, because I've seen so many people get fucked.
Right.
Better if part of the deal was we got to keep their IP, yeah, for the fucking guy putting out the Blu-ray or whatever, but definitely not me, definitely not the filmmaker.
Right.
So I use this as a way to help the short filmmaker, the indie filmmaker, use their short film as what it's supposed to be, like a fucking a calling card. This is what I'm capable of doing, and hopefully the prayer I give every day into the fucking ether is that the right person sees these shorts and contacts these filmmakers, and either they get to make a feature version, which is why it's important for them to keep the IP,
Right.
or they get to make something else new and cool, you know? And it's just a win-win, you know? I get to watch really cool shit, and they get to get their stuff put out there. So I'm just selfish, man. You know, I just watching good shit because that's where it is. And hopefully that works. And we'll see. You know, it's a very experimental thing to do.
Right.
And I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the filmmakers. When I originally put out a call for short films, I got inundated with like 900 of them. And I sat and I watched every single one. And I think at the end of the day, I picked a handful that I felt had something
Right.
that was special. And while these short, another thing I wanted to make it very clear about was a lot of people take pre-existing short films and then throw it in an anthology and then try to pretend that these films were filmed for the anthology. No,
Sure.
that's just bullshit. You're just lying, you know?
Right.
So it's important to me that the audience realize and know what they're getting into. Think of it as like watching a short film program that you would see at a festival, only in your house. And the films were chosen by me because I felt each of them brought something to the table, or something was there. And that's what I do, man. You know, I try to. There's one thing I always hated about what I did, and not, I don't know, I don't want to say hate it, but I always wished when I was breaking into the industry that somebody, anybody could have just given me a hand, you know, and reached down and said, hey, let me show you how this is done, or let me show you how that is done. And no one ever did. I found that shit out by myself, because when I created Dread Central, the fucking web was like the Wild West.
Right.
And I'm proud of what I did with Dread Central, because some of the things that I implemented and sites like Bloody Disgusting implemented, they're the exact rules that horror journalism is here to today. And that's a huge compliment, you know?
Yeah.
But I just always wanted to help, man. And this lets me do it. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity to see these short films and to hopefully get them into the right audience.
So with that being said, how would, let's say I'm a filmmaker and I've got a short that I just finished, or it is done, and I think it's really worth its weight in gold. And I'm not trying to sound headstrong about that, but dude, I would love for you to see it. How do people submit to you? I'm sorry?
Contact me. That's it. Contact me on Facebook. Contact me on Instagram. Send me a message. My email address is right on my Facebook page.
Right.
Write me. You know, make me aware of it. And even during all the craziness of Terrifier 2, when I was getting like 300 emails a day, I sat there and I answered every one of them.
Wow.
Because that's the respect that you need to give people who are giving you a career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't exist without horror fans.
Right.
You know, I don't have a job. I don't have a gig. I don't have anything without people supporting what I do and appreciating what I do. So it's never been about ego for me. It's always been about what we could do. When I'm at a show now, which is a whole different world because I'm signing at conventions now, you know, I still don't feel like I have the body of work to be able to do that, but I'm gonna do it. Fuck it, right? It's so humbling to me that people were paying attention this whole time, because when I hear about shit, especially during that whole like 30-year stretch, man, I only heard about shit when I fucked it up, you know? So to have people come up to me and they bring up this stuff for me to sign that I've done so fucking much. Sometimes I don't even remember that I had something to do with it, you know?
Right.
It's the most humbling thing. And the thing about George Romero and Sid Haig that I try to take with me every time I do anything is if you were ever at a convention with those two guys, they stayed until everyone there who was in line, didn't matter what time the show ended, they stayed until everybody got to meet them and get an autograph. And I think that's the way it should be, you know? So anyone who's coming to my table, they're the only person in that room for me for that moment we have together.
Right.
You know? We're going to talk. We're going to bullshit. And when I get done signing or whatever, I don't go to like the cool room parties. I certainly could. I go hang out where the fans are.
Yep.
That's who I am. That's what I am. And I like being surrounded by my peers. Because
no more gumball martinis.
Well, yeah, that happened.
I had to throw that one out. How about you?
Man, no, I mean, listen, I'm not going to say I don't go to. I like the cool room parties. I don't ever go to them. Of course, I go to them.
Right.
But my main reason to be at a show is to hang out with the fans.
Sure.
For as long as I'm privileged to be able to.
Right. No, I was, where was, I mean, there are, of course, obviously, shows now, and they host a quote unquote ticketed after party. This DJ, and you'll see a couple celebrities that will be there. I was in Florida, as a matter of fact, at Spooky Empire one year, when they were still being held at the old Sheraton. Mm-hmm. I believe it was the Sheraton prior to them moving to the big arena convention hall. And afterwards, you would just see all the celebrities out in the pool. You know, Danny Trejo and Jason Mewes are in animal inflatables, having playing war in the pool, and Gary Busey's just being Gary Busey, walking around in his robe. But it made them real. It made them personable, and it was you had that much more respect for the celebrity. They're tired. They've flown in. They've been whatever. Their shoes were too tight before they sat down for a 12-hour stretch. I get it, man. I do. I've had some real jackasses on the opposite side that I paid money for. And I've had some that would just look at the person behind me and be like, dude, we're getting to you. Just chill. We're all talking, having a good time. So, I mean, I get it. Everybody's different, but hearing that from you, it's something that the fans really appreciate, especially because, yes, I'm not going to get onto this trend of the way costs of a picture and an autograph has gone up through the roof over the course of the years. When I first started going, it was $10. Some people it was even free. If you brought something up to me, I'm going to sign it for you for free and just take a picture. I'm just here to try and have a good time and maybe sell a couple extra DVDs or some of my glossies or whatever it was. So yes, the cost of everything in the world is up through the roof. But, to hear of somebody like yourself that will take the time for the fans, because we are there to see you. In return, you have been asked to be there for us.
Yeah.
So meeting us halfway means so much more, because those are the people that we're going to remember. We're going to be like, dude, I got to meet Steve Barton, and we just talked, and he was so cool. Yeah, he had a line behind me, but everybody was cool. He was cool about everything. And then you're also going to have those people that you're going to also never go back to, because he was a total dick. I can't believe I've ever watched any of his movies, and I'll never watch him again.
Well, I asked George and Sid about that very thing specifically. And I believe it was George who answered. Sid was like, fuck him. But that's Sid. But I think George specifically was like, Steve, you got to understand, these people, when they get this time with you, you may never see them again.
Right.
Why not make it memorable for both of you?
Sure.
And that made all the sense in the world to me. So anybody that's going to come to my table is going to leave with a smile on their face. and I make sure of that because I'm having just as much a good of a time as they are.
Right.
And this whole appreciation thing is so fucking alien to me, but I got to tell you, it feels amazing because that really the biggest compliment in the world is when someone you don't even know appreciates what you do,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're in I mean, this industry is fucking hard, it's that many, many times in my career has been absolutely thankless.
Sure.
But you do it because you love it. And if you love it, that means you got to take the good with the bad. But it's your responsibility to try to put the good out there. Because anyone could be bad, anyone could be a dick, but you just want to leave people with something good, with a smile on my face. When I started doing this thing, it's the stupidest fucking thing. But people have really responded to it and they love it. At my shows, when I do a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday show, before I start signing, I test my Sharpie. And what better way to test your Sharpie than to draw a dick on something? So yeah. So I took one of my 8x10s and I just drew a penis on it. And then everyone that came to my table, celebrity or fan or whatever,
They got to see your dick.
or even no, I asked them to draw a penis on it. So now by the time the show is over on Sunday, I have one 8x10 that's loaded with cocks surrounding my face. Because taking yourself seriously. And what I do with that picture is I give it away to somebody at the end of the show.
Oh shit.
They got cocks drawn by Kane Hodder, Ashley Bank, celebrity,
Right.
And it's just fucking hilarious. And the last one I did, one of my good friends, she's really, really sick. Her name is, she goes by Creepazoid Kelly. She's the sweetest thing in the world. And she's going through a really rough time. So I made sure we got as many dicks on my face as possible. And I mailed it to her, because she couldn't get to the show. But, sometimes you got to do that.
Right.
Whether it be to a fan or somebody who's thanklessly, tirelessly working the shows, the volunteers, just a little something of their appreciation that's funny, that they won't forget about.
It's the smallest stuff that can mean the most too. It really is.
The look on somebody's face when they come to my table, I'm like, yo, won't draw a dick on me? And it's just what I do. It's called Dick Pic Sunday. We give
Dick
away
Pic
every
Sunday. I love that. I love that. So me looking at you, I am envious. Okay. I know the struggles, the hardships, the daily grind that you still put out to maintain your way of life that you have built for yourself in the horror industry. I, of course, would love to be trading places with you, as would, I'm sure, a million other horror fans.
Careful what you wish for, sir.
This is true. This is true. If it was not for the horror industry, where do you see Steve Barton having been?
Dead. I wouldn't be here. It's amazing that I'm not an alcoholic, that I'm not a drug addict, that I'm not a murderer, that I'm not in jail. I could have been. I easily could have been. I had enough shit happen that would have pushed me in that direction, but I chose a different path. And part of the reason why I was able to choose that path is, it's going to sound so stupid, but I learned my moral compass from George A. Romero movies, seeing what's right and wrong. And that's where I got my values from, to be able to differentiate between right and wrong and needful and needless, So I don't think I'd be here, man. I think I'd have given up a long time ago if I didn't have these things in my life, like my family now, for the
Right.
first time in 50 years, actually have a family other than just me and my brother that it was always. And this genre, because it is who I am. It's in every part of me. This isn't an act. It's who I am. It's what I do. It's how I breathe. I'm only alive, truly alive, when I get to be Uncle Creepy, which is more or less just another version of me times 10. Because when people are around me, they never know what's going to come out of my mouth. There's evidence by this show. You never know what the fuck I'm going to say or do. And I love that. And I love this. And I love everything about it, the hard times and the easy times. And without those lessons I was forced to learn at various ages of my life, and without knowing the difference between right and wrong and good and bad that I learned from just watching movies and TV shows, I don't think I'd be here. I think I'd have checked out long ago.
Foot in mouth. I appreciate your honesty. And I mean, obviously, this is kind of
That's a great question, and it's one that I've thought about, as evidenced by how quickly I was able to come up with my answer. That's
Well, I mean,
about me, man. When I know my truths,
right.
I've thought about all of this, so I can answer honestly, because that's what you want. That's what everybody wants. We're all flawed people.
Right.
We all have things that we do badly and things that we do good. And we're all fucking just traveling, trying to get through the day, man. My story is fucked up, but it's not unique. It is what it is. We all have our crosses to bear. And mine isn't any more important than anyone else's. We've all had that thought about where would we be in our own mortality? And it's not a downer, it's just an honest question. I think and I believe that if I had made one choice differently, I don't think I'd be who I am now. And I like who I am now.
Yeah.
I like so, it just goes to show you can't give up. You just can't. I understand why people do. I know how fucking hard it is and how hard it can be. But to be able to be here for the good moments, even if they're fleeting, sometimes it makes all the bad shit just worth it.
Well, in your book, you were definitely vulnerable to the entire world, and that is greatly appreciated. Your openness and honesty. I was waiting for a centerfold to open up of you just lying there naked with your guts spilled out, because that is basically what you gave us on those pages.
You don't get to find out what size my dick is.
That's in volume 2, folks.
Life,
Right.
If I always joke, I've been joking around and saying if I do a sequel to the book, I would call it post-credit sequence.
Right.
Because what's next? Yeah, man, it's. I think it's good to be vulnerable sometimes. Everybody has this preconceived notion of what it means to be strong.
It shows to me that you're real, and that's what got me.
Crying is strong. It's not weak. None of this is weakness. As long as you're, there's a million different ways people try to differentiate failure from success or wealth or anything like that. But at the end of the day, wealth is nice when it's there, but it don't fix all your problems.
No,
Not,
sir.
From firsthand experience, unfortunately. But I can only assume.
Right.
I can tell you that I gauge my success by going to bed at night and putting on my head on, and I think the same thing every night. I say to myself, Steve, did you handle yourself and did you carry yourself as best you could? And did you do everything that you were supposed to do today to the best of your ability? And if I can say yes, then I'm successful. And while I may not be monetarily wealthy, in matters of the heart, I'm a rich motherfucker, you know?
There you go.
So it is what it is, man.
Right.
It's life. It's warts and all. And I'm thankful that I got a chance to tell my story. And like I said, hopefully people will dig it. Hopefully people will be able to get some from it. I think I did a good job. When you read the book, I think you'll really understand its title,
Mhm.
you know, because it was a constant balancing act of balancing the comedy with the tragedy.
Right.
And so many times the lines between them are totally fucking blurred.
Yep.
So I mean, everything about the book is me. Like everything was thought about. Like even the cover, I'm chained to a movie theater seat and I'm being forced to watch my fucking life story, and it's a ransom note font.
Right.
Everything about that was well thought out.
Yeah.
And there on the back of the book is the exit sign, but it says no exit. So it is what it is, man. There are times I feel like I am held hostage by my own life,
Sure.
and everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that, thank you for the kind words about it. I hope it resonates with everyone else. I hope, I hope people realize that the book is just about humanity. That we're all the same, man. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, if you're black, if you're white, if you're male, you're female. It doesn't matter. Gay, straight, who gives a shit? What matters is we're all just here, and we should celebrate each other by our differences and celebrate each other by our triumphs and the things we have in common. And I hope that message is in there somewhere, that it will be okay. You just got to keep breathing. Another really big compliment that I got from one of my closest friends, Michael Felsher, who he knew my life, but he never realized how much I've been through. Like, people don't, and I think it's gonna shock them how personal it is. But he said to me, the best thing about this book is that you talk about all these things, yet not once did you ever complain about any of it.
Right.
Because it's easy to say, woe is me.
Sure.
But it's much more fulfilling to say, fuck it, what's next?
There you go. And here you are. Yep. Well, speaking of what's next, you got to be in front of the camera for the GOAT himself, one of your idols, obviously speaking and referring to George A. Romero. Have you ever decided or wanted to try turn the tables on that one? I know you've done producing. Have you ever wanted to get behind the camera?
It means to be seen. I don't say no to anything, and I've made a career clearly out of throwing shit at a wall to see what sticks. I'll try anything once.
Okay.
I don't think anyone should ever say no to anything. I think that, well, within reason.
Right.
I think that, in life, we have limitations, and some of those limitations are put on us, and some of them are put on by us. But I've learned that the only limitations you really have to adhere to are the ones you put on yourself. I am living proof that if you just say, fuck it, I'm doing this, why not? It could be done. You just got to want it. And, if you want to be in this industry, there's not really a plan B, man. You either got to give it your all, and if you fuck up, that's fine. I think fucking up is actually more important than succeeding, because when you fuck something up, when something goes sideways, it gives you the opportunity to look at the situation objectively and retool and refocus and then try again.
Sure.
So I don't know. I guess I'm a glass half full kind of guy, despite everything that's happened. But at the end of the day, man, I'm a fucking monster in fucking fantasy land. What do I really have to complain about?
Right.
I've met my idols. I've worked with my idols. I've befriended just about every single person I've ever grown up watching on TV. Not only that, I've worked side by side with them. I don't have anything to complain about. What can I do? I know that there are people who would love to be in my position, such as it is, and such as it often is. And I realize that, and I realize how lucky I am through it all. So it's just sticking it out, man. Just
Right.
sticking it out and believing in yourself. And anyone who tells you otherwise, they could just go fucking eat a bag of dicks.
There you go. That's what I wanted to hear. I love that.
People who dissuade you and try to tell you what you can do, what you can't do, what you will do, what you won't do. They're just people who have forgotten to dream to the extent that they've become complacent, and they try really fucking hard to discourage you because they don't want to see you become more than what you can be, because they're never going to be anything more than they are right now.
Right.
You know? So you just got to fucking keep swinging, man. Whether it be at them, or whether it be at Shadows, or whether it be fucking anywhere, you can't give in. You just got to keep going. And at the end of the day, I just hope when I'm long gone, there will be people who will remember some of the things I did and remember that I was here. I just want it to make a difference. And I think I'm on my way to making that happen. I don't necessarily think I've done it yet, at least not to the degree that I would hope. But I think at the end of the day, I just want people to remember I was here, you know, because some people, they take their lives for granted, and you can't do that. You got to live, you know, you got to live fucking audaciously. You got to fucking run through sprinklers. You got to fucking cartwheel down the street. Enjoy your fucking life, man, because it's over like that sometimes.
That's beautifully put. It truly is. And I appreciate that. I really do. I know I've been through a lot physically, and I shouldn't be here today because of an accident that happened last.
Yet they're your sexy bearded asses.
No, I mean, hearing you, you reached me. You have even through your written and even your words tonight, you are, in its own way, inspiring.
Thank you.
I mean, I do sincerely mean that. We're the exact same age. We have a lot of similarities. We have not sat down and broke bread and gone through all those comparisons yet, but having read your life, like I said, there was a lot that I could relate to.
Did you have a $6 million man doll?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a $6 million man doll?
One of the kids that I played with in Jersey when I grew up, and yeah, I can remember looking through the back of his head too. Oh my God, I was ear to ear reading some of your descriptions, man. I swear to God, it just took me back and it put me there.
Can I just publicly, at least one time in my life, say, fuck you, Kenner, and your stupid fucking orange girder and your fucking engine? Fuck was that? You know, I get mad when I think about that. Fuck you, Kenner. Fuck you. And nobody's going to know what I'm talking about until they read the first chapter, but
right.
Deserve it. Fucking deserve it.
Boys and girls, I hope you guys have had as much fun as I have had talking to Uncle Creepy, Mr. Steve Barton tonight. Be sure to please, on all social media platforms, find Steve. Find his advertisements for his book. You can also find them because I have pushed them through my social media pages with The Witching Hour. Comedy of Tragedies. Pre-order it now. It comes out again on December 10th. Okay. He will sign books. He has made that publicly clear. I, for one, am hoping to find one shoved into my stocking or put underneath my little tree this year as well.
Make sure it's pre-ordered. It'll be signed, I swear.
Even though I have already read the book, and again, I'm not a reader, I want this on my shelf. I want one for myself. I truly do. And I'm still holding you to meet me at the Cherry Hill Diner sometime because I do want to break bread.
I was there tonight, motherfucker.
Son of a bitch. There's a reason why we had to be late because you had to go eat at the diner.
I had a short stack of pancakes, god damn it.
My God. Every time I go to Monster Mania, we always make sure to detour and head on over to Cherry Hill Diner. We got to. Got to. Boys and girls, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Please hit that little fucking button that says subscribe. You took the time to sit here, find Steve Barton, get a copy of that book, and I wish you all a very happy and safe Halloween coming up very, very soon. This is John Royce with the Witching Hour podcast. Steve Barton, thank you so much for joining us. Please give my best to Danny, and I cannot wait to meet you. Speaking of which, you will be in New Jersey at
Supernatural Soiree this Saturday, and then I'll be in Oaks at Monster Mania, and then who knows where else. I pop up like a bad rash. I just keep fucking popping up.
and there is no cream for it. Trust me.
There's no salve. You're not getting a salve, God damn it. You're going in salveless.
Oh my God. Boys and girls, thank you so much for joining the Witching Hour podcast with my guest, Steve Barton. Again, the comedy of tragedies. I will talk to you guys soon. Steve, I'll talk to you soon, my friend. You take care of yourself, buddy.
Got it, brother. Don't stop the recording.
I have no choice.
Wait. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Hi, this is Steve Uncle Creepy Barton, and you're listening to the Witching Hour podcast.
Now I'm in for this as always.
Now
I
you
love that. Take care, friends. Have a great night. Thank you, Steve.